no matter how successful I was in my business, my personal life was like shattered. I was married to the narcissist. And then leaving that relationship, I was broken, and I was homeless. It was just me and my dog. So for me, it was like, this is my new rock bottom. Like now I've got to apply all the things that I was able to support others and direct that all towards myself. Because we're good at people pleasing and we're good at giving so much. Now it's time for me to just flip that mirror back and all that energy back on myself. So I reestablished and I recreated, and that was the real pivotal moment of me going, oh, one, this stuff works, and two, applying it like within, and then the rapid transformation that can occur. And then people would go, well, how did you literally do it? It's funny, when we hit this age or this milestone, we're like, oh my gosh, like I've only got like 20 years left. But it's 20 dedicated years, because we've done the learning, we've done the research, we've done the trials, we've done the trauma, we've done the struggle. And now once you hit 50, you just got clarity and vision. Gratitude is a powerful practice to have. Grateful for this divine body. So again, releasing comparison, releasing guilt, shame, blame, because there's no transformative energy in that. It's like bring it back into yourself. You're here and now. And that's all that requires. All that matters. And then what you're choosing to do next. Emotional intelligence is often referred to as empath, right? We're empathetic beings, and we are constantly have a frequency vibration. We're constantly emitting frequencies. We're constantly emitting, like all of us are. We're vibrational beings, right? So think of it like a radio station. It's constantly, the waves are constantly on. It's just whether we're tuning in. But as those empaths, or as those emotional beings that we both resonate with, the empath, it's like we're then able to sense other people's pain, emotions, like traumas, gratitude, like all of the energy. And then often we feel it in our own body, or we can sense it in greater degrees. Not all of us can escape to a mountain, and a lot of people do when they're looking for their spiritual awakening, or that's what they think spirituality is. People who just meditate all day and live in a monastery, or those Buddhists that live in those temples, that's what they attune spirituality is. But spirituality is being aware of your spiritual self, that you are part of the cosmos, not just, Rumi says so beautifully, you are not a drop in the ocean, you are the ocean in a drop. So you're one component of this vast universe, and you're all so important at the same time, because we're all interconnected. You get the power of choice of what the next day, next moment looks like. You get the choice. So rehearse it in your mind. So just like you were using your memories to live in the past, you can create memories of your future. So start rehearsing.
Welcome back to another episode of Riveting Life After 50. I'm absolutely thrilled today to have our incredible guest here, Aida Jasmine, join us in. Aida is a spiritual teacher, transformational life and business mentor, and author who has dedicated over 2 decades, 20 years, people, to empowering people just like you. She's here to share her wisdom on navigating spiritual awakenings, manifesting your dream life, and unleashing your full potential. We all want that. Get ready for a conversation packed with insights, practical tips, and maybe a little touch of magic. Welcome in, Aida. How you doing, girl?
Oh, good morning and welcome. Thank you. That was amazing.
Yes, morning there for you. Yeah, so it's 4 years.
It is, yeah.
And you're now, so it's Wednesday morning there, right? It's Tuesday evening here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell, obviously your accent, tell them where you're calling in from.
Yeah. So I'm from the eastern coast of Australia. So in Queensland at the moment. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's so exciting. We've had the listeners that are listening in now, we've had quite a few guests in from Australia, and I'm happy to say that I have your lovely now, can I say this, husband joining us next week. You guys just got married. You got to talk about that. Talk about that.
Yeah, last week actually. So we tied the knot, or shared sacred vows last week. So feeling very blessed and grateful that it's come together beautifully.
And how long have you guys been together prior to this?
Yeah, well, only since February of last year. So 2023, we came together, and it was very synchronistic. It's what you say after, when you know, like it is absolutely true when you know. So we met on the 29th of January. And then on the February, I was like, you know what? I'm done with, playing around and playing the field. I'm looking for a relationship. I'm looking for the one. And I'm only dating for a relationship. He's like, yeah, I'm in. Where do I sign up? Let's go. So yeah, literally within, I think 3 weeks, he was pretty much moved in, brought his coffee machine over. That's a commitment. Someone brings their coffee machine over 3 weeks later. And
Hey, caffeine, whenever
coffee's
you
life, right?
get that done,
And
the
something we
caffeine is
bond
done.
over.
Yeah, it's done. Caffeine, I'm in, we're done. Yeah, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's a
it's good.
mutual love. So that
It is a
was good.
mutual
And we're
love.
both mutually bonded in spirituality and coffee.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. I see my
So
camera is
yeah, it
in
was a
for the
very
listeners.
beautiful and quick energy.
Yeah, for the listeners, you're not gonna understand this, but my camera's autofocuses. Let me turn that off so that it would distract the crap out of the viewers and you. It
Okay.
was I noticed that it was the autofocus, so it kept depth in and out. So things that the listeners don't get privy to, your beautiful face and then the weird autofocus stuff that happens on occasion. So because they don't tune in to look at me, that's damn sure. So your journey, kind of leading into the first question, your journey as a spiritual teacher and transformational life and business mentor is super inspiring. Reading your bio, and then when you and I had our discovery call, and as I mentioned at the top, you've spent over 2 decades in the personal development and transformational space. How has your approach to helping others evolved over time in these 20 years? I
Mm.
mean, that's a long time to be dedicated to that craft.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm only 50, right? So it's still quite young. And we're only just truly beginning at 50. 50 is like the new 30. It
Yeah.
truly is. And it's funny when we hit this age or this milestone, we're like, oh my gosh, like I've only got like 20 years left. But it's 20 dedicated years because we've done the learning, we've done the research, we've done the trials, we've done the trauma, we've done the struggle. And now once you hit 50, you just got clarity and vision. And even if you don't, it's like it rapidly like spirals towards you. So for me, like I did work in corporate Australia for the very beginning of my career, but I was always in that, well, initially I was in that supportive role. So I found it very easily to support people, to be their greatest fans. And I just knew intuitively, being gifted and born intuitive or born with those gifts, that I could just tune into what they needed, and I would be prepared before they even knew what they needed. So it would be like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. How did you know this? How were you able to just continue to leap and bound? So very early in my corporate career, I started supporting, people in their transformational space because I was also going through this massive transformation, tuning into more of my other gifts apart from being in the corporate space, and how then you could blend the two.
Mm.
Something that I truly love doing. So then coming through that space, it's like, how can I continue to support people? Because people just come to me naturally. It's like, how are you doing this? How are you able to? So that transformation, or that kind of, it's not even a leap, right? It was
Right.
this beautiful just flow into supporting people in their own transformational spaces, no matter what space they were in. So it would be personal lives, it would be their business life, it would be their money, their career, their social networks. And at the same time, I was constantly expanding and growing and evolving. So it was a beautiful, smooth transition for me to be able to then go, all right, well, I'm done with corporate life. It's no longer lighting me up in the way that it used to, because I really love this personal transformational space, being able to work with people rather than letting a big corporate grow even bigger and grander and more empowered. Let's let people grow, because companies are based on people. Without the people, there is no company. So I really just found my purpose very early on in that space.
It's much more gratifying too, because I think we may have touched on this a bit in our discovery call, that for me, and there's something about, like you said, you going back to being 50, right? It's a beautiful time. We've seen a lot and stuff. And this is kind of a transformational time where we go, what's next? What do I want to do now? Because we've done all the work, not to say that we still don't want to earn monetary things, right? But we've done all that work, and now it's about, what emotional deposits can I now deposit? For me, that's much more impactful and more important to me, at least personally, is the emotional equity that I build is more than the monetary equity. And so, you talked about, it's made me think about something. You talked about being born intuitive. I have always felt like, I think you're people are born with, there's now a new term for this, and we didn't have this term back, when we were younger, the emotional intelligence, right? It's something now that we have a definition on it. I've known from a very early age, I have a very high emotional intelligence. Listen, I'm not good at a lot of things, but understanding and reading and feeling people's energy is very high up there. So with that, how I know that there are people that feel that they have that, and you naturally can kind of see and feel that it's not just some, oh, I kind of want to try to develop this. You have it. How can people tap into that potentially more, recognize those energies that are coming their way, because they're always present, but it's about opening yourself up to accept those. How does one do that so that they become more of a conduit for that, as opposed to kind of passively kind of letting it pass them? How do you do that?
Thank you. The spiritual term for the emotional intelligence is often referred to as empath, right? We're empathetic beings, and we are constantly have a frequency vibration. We're constantly emitting frequencies. We're constantly emitting, like all of us are. We're vibrational beings, right? So think of it like a radio station. It's constantly, the waves are constantly on. It's just whether we're tuning in. But as those empaths, or as those emotional beings that we both resonate with, the empath, it's like we're then able to sense other people's pain, emotions, like traumas, gratitude, like all of the energy. And then often we feel it in our own body, or we can sense it in greater degrees. So when you recognize that, hang on, I was feeling fine until I walked into this room, or I was feeling fine until, I met this person. And then all of a sudden I'm either feeling angry, or I'm feeling really sad, or I'm feeling a pain in my shoulder. So what's going on? I was feeling fine. It's when we recognize that, it's like, actually, this isn't mine. And we get to start having a conversation with the other and going, are you okay? Like, I'm suddenly feeling this energy, feeling this pain in my shoulder. And then they'll be like, yeah, actually, I've been going through some shoulder stuff. And then that's how we often develop it. It's just becoming very self-aware. That's that whole self-mastery. It's a whole soul mastery, becoming very aware of when you know that your own beautiful body or your own state of being is, and we are holding our own sovereignty. Then we can kind of recognize where our energy ends and another begins, and another ends and ours begins. Learning boundaries is essential for an empath, or essential for developing emotional intelligence. Because we have to understand ourselves before we can understand another.
That's it.
And
so yeah, and I'm sorry. So I think a lot of times too, like I have conversations with other people like this, not as advanced in understanding it like you do, but just people as I'm navigating my world in general. And I think a lot of times they will dismiss those feelings. They don't know what it is, for one, and they're not sure. Like, oh, this is just my mind is making this up. And what I tell them is to act on it. Like I do this quite often. Like if I'm out and there's something that somebody crosses my path, they could be in the distance or close to me, a cashier or anybody across the room, and it's like there's something pulling me to them. And so I'll go and say, this may seem weird, but my energy, like there was something about you. I just need to say hi to you, and how you doing? My name is Scott. Like introducing myself. There's something telling me to do it, so I just act upon it. And you find out more times than not. And that's why, like, every gym, like I move around gyms quite often. Is my computer, I don't know if hold on just a second. I don't know if I'm plugged in. Give me a second. It looks like the battery is dying. Oh gosh. And if this cuts us off, I'll come right back in. It should not.
of course.
It should come the monitors off. And I'll edit this portion out.
The blooper bits. You're back.
I think I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So we'll edit that piece out. See, it shows me plugged. I don't know why. It was weird. I was docked, and it must have just shaken out of the dock pin, because suddenly the screen went dim. I was like, oh, is my power about to die? I had about 15% left, but that was a good sign. So what I was kind of getting at is I'll connect with them on purpose and go say something to them. Say, hey, this may be a bit odd, but some told me to introduce myself to you. And so I move around to gyms. Like I'm at a new gym now, and there's always this feeling when I leave the old one because I know everybody there. I've met everybody there. It's like I'm going to miss my gym people, but my wife and people know they always call me the mayor or the governor of whatever gym I'm in because I get to know everybody because it's important of who's in my space. I want to know them, and I compliment them on, hey man, what you're doing. Like I notice you. What you're doing is amazing. I think many times as humans we let those opportunities pass, and we really should lean into this because at the end of the day, that's what matters. Those emotional exchanges and deposits, as we talked about on the top side, are really what is the most important thing. Because whether we like it or not, even those people we disagree with, every 100 years, life changes on Earth, right? So whether we like it or not, all of us on Earth, this is our tribe. So we might as well enjoy each other as much as we can. Sometimes you got to love people from afar because they're not serving, good energy. But I think it's important to recognize that and lean into it. And when you get those intuitions, is act upon them. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
Mhm. Beautiful, because we are social beings. We're very community beings. So we're naturally gravitating towards wanting to feel the safety network. So
Mhm.
it's only when we are in our own head or in our own space or in our own emotional body, depressed, anxiety, or whatever it might be, angry, sad, then we retreat. So there's only one problem in the world, and that's disconnection.
Yeah.
Hence, there's only one solution in the world, and that's connection. So the more we're able to connect with other like-minded beings or just more people, we develop a greater sense of connection.
Mm.
So for me, it's beautiful that you go up, and I talk to everybody too. Roy's like, wherever we go, you just like, and then you go 5 minutes later, how do you know all about that person's life and family? And I said, well, one, I create a safe container where people just go, oh, I feel safe here. And they just go, blah. Things that they never reveal to anybody else. So
Yes.
it's a really beautiful thing.
It really is, and I love those. Like you talked about that. Like we got to eat, and that's not even a joke anymore. My wife, my wife and kids know, but early on, we would go out to eat somewhere. Just use an example, and my wife would say, "I'm going to go to the restroom. We're waiting on our table, right, to go back." And she come back, and I'm talking to the guy next to me, and we'll sit down. She goes, how'd you know him? It's like I just met him. She goes, it's just, and she's always like, you can never commit a crime because people would know you.
Yeah.
So it's true. I truly enjoy people and I enjoy their stories.
Yeah.
I just do. So, um, any case, that you and I are cut from the same stones, as they say, so or from the same
Mhm.
cloth. Can you talk about a pivotal moment in your life that led you to become a spiritual teacher and mentor?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not been an easy ride,
Mm.
right? And I think a lot of people go, oh, it was easy for you. And we're very good at comparing as human beings, like, oh, they can have it, but I can't. And for me, I was exactly the same for a very long time. No matter how successful I was in my business, my personal life was like shattered. I was married to the narcissist. And then leaving that relationship, I was broken, and I was homeless. It was just me and my dog. So for me, it was like, this is my new rock bottom. Like, now I've got to apply all the things that I was able to support others and direct that all towards myself. Because we're good at people pleasing and we're good at giving so much. Now it's time for me to just flip that mirror back and all that energy back on myself.
Mm.
So I reestablished and I recreated, and that was the real pivotal moment of me going, oh, one, this stuff works, and two, like applying it like within, and then the rapid transformation that can occur. And then people would go, well, how did you literally do this? How did you like seriously come from that far? And I'm like, well, this is the way. Let me show you the way.
Mm.
And creating that platform, and often it's through trial and error. We had to do the trial and error, right? So you don't have to when you have a really good guide, really good mentor that can support you in that process. So that was over about 15 years ago. I was like, done. Like, this is me fully moving into this space and just dedicating my entire life, because I had to dedicate it for myself. And as you said, we're always learning and growing, expanding. I don't just like, I know everything now, my learning stops. Oh no, that's a
Oh,
fixed mindset. We want a growth mindset. So
yeah.
I'm constantly growing and expanding, but I'm also supporting others along the way. And that was a real pivotal moment for me of like, I'm now needing to apply all of this transformation on a like, how do we do this and I truly believe that that was intentional, because it's like I needed to also understand, for those people talking about emotional intelligence, what it felt like to have absolutely nothing, be penniless, homeless, just looking after me and my dog. So how do you rebuild from that space? So those people that are like, oh, you've always come. No, I was born from a very low socioeconomic area. I was born with poor parents. Like, I was born from immigrants. Like, I did not have the, gravy train. I did not have a really good beginning. And also being raised in a cult, and also had a very abusive family. So really struggled in my early periods, and then coming out good. And then it's like, okay, then off the cliff again. So then applying all of that transformational states, it's like, all right, now spirit's going, okay, you've done the lessons. Now you have a intellectual as well as physical real world learnings. Now you can truly apply and truly guide others towards that space. And not only have I studied and learned and mentored and like gained all of the wisdom and literally spent decades learning this, gaining mentors, investing in myself, in my professional development and learning, then I also apply that and then guide others through the space so that they can maybe not have so much heartbreak, have some of the shortcuts that I've learned, and then guided them through that space. So,
but that was necessary. Do you see that now as a necessary, right?
yeah.
Yeah, because you think about what it did on the cellular level, right? Because we talk about we're energy-based beings, right? We're positive and negative ions all the time, like communicating with one another, where they also communicate with other people. And so they can feel that your pain body, or the pain portion of this, went through that. It's an emotional connection at that point. So absolutely necessary. And I think a lot of times people will look at their obstacles, challenges, as they battle them for the rest of their lives, instead of saying, hey, that's a necessary step for me to be where I am now. If I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be right here now. So you welcome that as part of your journey. It's another chapter in your book of life, right? And you get to decide what's going to be on the next page. You can look back and gather some of those things that you've gone through and learn from. But man, each day I can create something beautiful and new, based on that. So speaking of books, go ahead. What are you going to? Yeah, please comment. Please comment.
That's a powerful point, because we're so used to living in the past. We're so in our head and in our memories, right? And every time we remember something that's happened in our past, or even from yesterday, or even 10 years ago from when we were 2, like, we are living that as in present moment, because our brain doesn't know the difference between real and not. So, but we are caught up, and every time we remember, we're living in the past, we're staying stuck, and we're creating that as our future pace. And we're, I'm going to call it out, like, we're living in our victim. Because of my ex, or because of my parents, I can't have this, or because of my upbringing, I can't have this. Well, it's BS. It's not absolutely true. You're keeping yourself stuck in that space because you're choosing to focus on those memories, and that is the powerful you are choosing. And in any one moment, yes, it creates a mind shift, but that's where it starts. And then you've got to take the piece into the embodiment. You've got to take the piece into the emotional body, as you said, because we can sense pain, but we can either choose to live in our pain, or we can go, actually, this is time for me to, how can I learn from this? And that is a beautiful spiritual teaching. No matter what life throws at you, what is it here to teach me? And how can I grow from this space?
Yeah,
how can I find peace in this space?
You are not your circumstances. That's the bottom line. You're not your circumstances. And going back to your point about the subconscious and the mind doesn't know the difference. So here's what I will say, and what I share with people quite often. If that were so painful, you keep reliving, you keep going back, it was so painful, why would you want to continue to relive it? Because your body doesn't know the difference. You're taxing your body through the same thing that you're trying to avoid. Why are we doing this? So that it kind of brings me to, I'm talking about books. In your book, The Handbook for Being Human, which I love the name of that. I love the play on words and the flip. The Handbook for Being Human. You got readers to navigate their spiritual awakening and live heaven on earth. So what's the most common misconception that you have found that people have about spiritual awakening?
Yeah, beautiful. That it's fluffy and rainbows.
So
Right? Oh, I'm awake now. I've had my spiritual awakening. Oh, my life's just miraculously transformed. I'm just going to have the most amazing time and everything's just going to go my way. Well, that's also a belief system. So that's one that I've just recreated, like everything goes my way. However, it's freaking not. Your spiritual awakening is exactly that. You are, and I know it's quite a common metaphor, but you're that worm or the caterpillar actually going through the chrysalis. Like it is painful and it is just horrible sometimes, and it's dark and it's lonely, and that's the truth of a spiritual awakening. It's called a dark night of the soul for a reason. What you gain through that, I got goosebumps all over my body. What you gain through that is just profound lessons and learning. And should you choose to then break cycles or shift the change, and like, I'm no longer, as you said, choosing to stay in those memories, I'm no longer choosing to like live in the past, that moment is when you can start to recreate what life looks like for you. And that's the heaven on earth bit, because you can either choose to live in hell, which is constantly remembering all of the pain and the trauma and what's hurt you, or the heaven piece is like, how do I create my heaven on earth? And what does that look like for me? What does success look like for me? What does my bliss look like for me? The moment we shift into that dynamic, then it truly does transform your whole world. But spiritual awakening isn't unicorns and rainbows.
that is so
It
funny.
can be quite brutal.
Yeah, because you're actually dealing with those things that you haven't dealt with that typically go back to when you were 7, 8, 9 years old,
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And so people don't want to do that. And then also, like, have you found too in your coaching that part of that too is they actually want to move on from it, but they're now more scared about what's going to happen on the other side of it, because they've lived with that. Although it's painful for them, there's a comfort in it because
Oh,
they know it. It's
absolutely.
familiar, right? So it's more painful even coming through that. So what
Yeah.
kind of conversation? How do you get people past that?
We fear change because, like you said, we just don't know what's on the other side. And what I say to them is, well, create it. You get the power of choice of what the next day, next moment looks like. You get the choice. So rehearse it in your mind. So just like you were using your memories to like live in the past, you can create memories of your future. So start rehearsing. This is what elite athletes do so that they can, run races, right? You're a competitive athlete. You understand that you've got to rehearse it in your mind, but you've also got to hit road to rubber. You've got to also take action. So you can't, like, if you're wanting to transform your health, you can't just sit there and meditate and go, I
Right.
wish for a healthy body.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. You've also got to start eating correctly, and you've got to create the mindset shift, but then you've also got to take the inspired action. You've got to take the action in transforming the way you eat, the movement of your body, the thoughts that you say to yourself, the words that your environment. You've got to clean out the cupboards to make sure there's no junk food that you're attracted to. Like, you've got to remove all of that energy. Well, it's the same with your spiritual awakening. You've got to clear out thoughts, belief systems that are not serving you, recognizing them for what they are. And it's like, okay, so then try simple steps to start with, because a lot of people go, oh, it's just too hard. Like, I'm not seeing the change. I'm like, it's because you're still focused on, you've got your head looking back constantly. So keep your eye focused forward, set an intention, and then follow that through, and also rehearse it in your mind, just like that elite athlete, because we all have the power of this.
Yeah.
And then getting it into your emotional body, start creating the feelings of whatever that new intention is, the healthy body. All right. What does that look like for you? What does optimal health and well-being look like for you? Start to use your imaginary cortex, the power of your dreams, the power of your vision. Create vision boards if that works for you. Get photos, or if you don't have anything, like, start by here and then feeling that power of body, because that's how we become, I call it spiritual shape shifting, where we can shift pain from one side of our body. You can actually shift it. And I take people through this beautiful, like, guided process where we can start to release like painful energy, painful, not just emotions, but pain in the body, by bringing in like from other areas of your body that feel really good and transforming it, because we're just choosing to let it stay stuck because we're focused on the thing.
Yeah.
rather
So
than the rest of the body.
super interesting you say that. I take clients through this. So, because, I train people physical training, but
Yeah.
it's the mental and physical is kind of what you were saying a minute ago about
Yeah.
about you can think about what you need, but there's also an action that needs to take place as well. But
Yeah.
so what I'm getting at is what I try to say people, they have a feeling or something in their body. So I'm not talking about an actual pain that they have, but a feeling somewhere. What I try to get them to do is imagine what that looks like. Imagine, give it a shape. What is it shaped like?
Yeah.
What is it shaped like? How big is it actually?
Yeah.
What color is it?
Yeah.
Really envisioning that. And
Yeah.
then switching it, shining a light on. Okay, so now imagine that same thing. Maybe it's a kidney bean shape, whatever that is. It's black to you. Let's imagine what's a very calming color to you? A deep blue.
Mm,
Let's imagine that being overlaid with a blue,
mm,
whatever that color that thing is. So you create an image of that pain that is exactly that is in your body, right?
mm.
So that's exactly what I was thinking of when you were talking about shifting the pain around in the body. And then also we know this from medical studies that a lot of the pain in the body, like actual pain that you can feel, is due to stress or something you're hanging on to outside of those things you're born with, or you
Yeah.
know like some type of like sarcoidosis or things like that that you just have that you can't do anything. But things that just kind of pop up, you're like, what is that? Where's that coming from? A lot of times it's things you're hanging on to
Yeah.
emotionally, showing up and manifesting as a pain somewhere in the body. And that's how you're able to shift it, because it's not really truly there. You've envisioned and you made that into yourself. So in
Yeah.
any case, I love that. So
Mm.
I know,
Yeah.
go ahead. Yeah, go. I know you want to
I was
share.
going to say, yeah, pain on a metaphysical level. So, as a spiritual teacher, we recognize that pain is trapped emotions. It's trapped energy, because energy is emotional energy, right? It's just, well, emotions is energy in motion. So we appreciate that if I'm feeling pain in my shoulder, or if I'm feeling pain somewhere in my body, it's related to trapped emotions or trapped trauma. And yes, it actually can be quite a simple shift in, as you did, that process. It's beautiful. I use a very similar one as well, like releasing that pain. But also, often if it's recurring, it's like, okay, we need to go in deeper and go, where's the source of this?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, oh, I just, fell over and like split my ankle or sprained my ankle. Well, there's a reason why.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and everything is relatable to not only your chakras and energy bodies, but also every part of your body is related to your spiritual and physical journey in this lifetime. So it's, when you look at the metaphysical side of things, it's like stubbing your toe has a spiritual meaning. And
Yeah.
sometimes, yes, you can just stub your toe, but it's like consciousness and awareness can take you to another level of that again.
Mm.
Hmm.
Interesting. I've not thought about it. I've heard it presented that way before. That's very interesting. So you studied and are certified in various modalities like coaching, mentoring, hypnosis, meditation. The list goes on and on with you, girl.
Yeah.
How do you integrate these practices to help your students achieve success and expansion?
Yeah, beautiful.
Expansion.
Yeah, thank you. It's treating everyone as a complete individual being, because we're all unique. We all have a unique signature thumbprint, right? Treating everybody so uniquely different, and being intuitive and being psychic medium as well. I'm able to tune into your energy and go, what do you need? But I also need to connect with you're human. Like, you tell me what you're requiring. What is your intention? What is your expectations? What are your attachments? So really developing that deep connection with them. And it's like, okay, so we have, and then I use all my abilities. All right, what out of my toolkit am I going to be using today? Or what do we need? And it's a blend of things.
Yeah.
So being able to then, that's the great thing of having a very wide toolkit. It's like I can incorporate my hypnosis into meditation, and I've created very much my own healing modality in which we can go in and create transformative spaces in people. So, but then it's about, rather than just having a cookie cutter program, it's like, no, everyone's so unique and different. Let's start treating them like that.
Yeah.
What is it you're desiring and wanting and needing? And then let's match that intention to actually what's your soul also here for? What are you actually signed up for? Because, not everyone's goal, or not everyone's goal firstly, but not everyone's soul mission is to be that rich, famous, well-known superstar. It's not. So if that's your expectation, but it's not your soul calling, mission, life mission, then how can we bridge the two?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that you can still feel fulfillment and purpose.
And also reality too, right? Like I
100%.
imagine in my head that I can play ball like Kobe Bryant, but I will never be able to play basketball like Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan as much as
No, you'll play it like Scott Mosley, right?
That's all I can do. That's right. Right. That's right. So you mentioned we've talked about being a generational healer and mystic.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on what that means and how it influences your work?
Yeah, beautiful. It's the capacity, whether people believe this or not, right? It's the capacity to see, feel, hear, and know what another is going through or processing, or what's energy that's going out in the room or in the world, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the old clairvoyant energy, that's capacity to see. So I do receive messages of my own sentiment and future, but I can also tap into others and provide guidance on what I'm seeing through. Or I can tap into, when I take people on journeys, I can actually physically see, or I can actually see what they're also envisaging at the time. It's such a beautiful gift that I truly treasure and honor, and now hold quite profoundly, because it's powerful being able to see.
Mm-hmm.
So, being young, I would see passed over people in the room, or I would see car accidents before they're about to happen. And it's quite traumatic as a child, especially with parents that are like, no, you can't tell people because they'll think that you're crazy,
Did you think it was normal? Like or what did you think initially when that was happening?
Well, initially I just thought it was real.
Yeah.
I would see someone in the room with me and I'd be like, oh, and I'd talk to them. My mom's like, who's there? And I'm like, oh, okay. So then very early on, I wrote.
How old? Like, what are your earliest memories of that?
Probably from apparently when I was a baby, I would start talking and gargling at things. But from the age of 2. 2 is my earliest childhood memory of being in the hospital and then seeing people in the hospital that weren't actually in the room. So that was my earliest childhood memory, because it was quite profound. So,
yes, of course.
Yeah.
You probably thought you had a lot of relatives visiting you for a while. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. But then some of them were like, oh, I don't know these. And I would communicate with them. And then when the nurse would come in and be like, who are you talking to? I'm like, oh, I think someone, and they're like, no one else is here. It's midnight. You should be asleep by now. I'm like, oh, okay. No one else is awake.
Do they seek you out because they know that you can?
Yeah, because I can see them.
Do you this sounds, I mean, are they standing in line? Like, what? Tell me.
Yeah, now they are. Now that I've got really good boundaries, they do not approach me without my permission. And I have beautiful gatekeepers in process. So think of it. My husband uses the analogy of being at a nightclub where there's doormen and no one can come in.
Like a doorman. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, but for me, it's very much I just have a receptionist, and then so no one can just access me without permission. But very early on, they'd all talk at me at once, and I would get feelings on my body and sensations, and I'd hear things because I also hear, and I'd feel stuff, and I'm like, okay, this is overwhelming. It's too much. And then everybody else that's actually in the room, the humans, so it'd be overwhelming. So learning boundaries.
What are they? So the boundaries. So what are they? What's kind of the most common thing that they're coming to you with, like you have found?
Yeah. To be heard.
Yeah.
To be seen. And as humans, we all want to be seen, heard, felt. And often they don't actually have messages. Like, we've all seen Sixth Sense, the movie, right? Some of them just have a message that they want to communicate to others, or that they've been transgressed. Or sometimes it's just like, I'm also a medium, so I can, channel messages for past over loved ones for people. But often when they just come to me, it's like, I need this. Or it's like, okay, well, I'm not necessarily here to help everyone. It's like, I'm that big golden light, and all the moths come to it, flock to it, because it's there and lit up. So, but often they just want to be seen, they want to be heard, or they do have a message for another, or they have a message for me.
So do you get messages like people you have, like you have one of these that have passed over that have come to you with a
Yeah.
message that you haven't met the person yet.
Correct.
And then the second part of that is, how do you know when you've met that person you need to pass the message to?
Oh, you just know, or there's a connection. So if there's someone who's given, or in the past, they've given me a message that I needed to connect with somebody else, then they'd make it very clear. I would have to typically know the person that I was communicating this to.
Oh, gotcha.
And I also don't do this without permission. So if
Gotcha.
Scott, if I meet you and I know that there's a message coming in through you, I'd be like, oh, would you mind me sharing this for you? Because sometimes it's not for you to know in this moment. And it's
Uh,
also, I have very good spiritual hygiene and boundaries. It's
hmm.
not for me to just
And
go,
I
blah, blah,
love
blah, blah,
what
blah.
you said, the spiritual hygiene. That is great. I love that.
Yeah.
That's
And
really
that's true. Otherwise, just constantly then it's also maybe not my place as an empath, walking through shopping centers going, oh, you've had some trauma, or I've got a message for
yeah.
you. It's like, it's not my place necessarily to do that. So, unless I'm getting seriously
Yeah,
nudged.
that's what's going to ask you if you're super compelled.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, again, I don't know how you do it. It would be like, hey, this may be weird, but there's something I need to share. It's really strong. This may
Yeah.
be whatever. How do you do that when you've got something that's very
Just
strong?
like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I would ask their permission. Hey, I'm just feeling compelled to chat to you. I'd have a conversation with them first, and then it'd be like, then I'll share something.
Mm,
Or in passing, which I have done, I've seen someone's brilliant light. I've seen them maybe not feeling great and be like, you have so much beautiful power and light within you. Trust the process and keep focusing forward. And
mm,
it can just be that message of empowerment. They don't need to know where it's coming from.
mm.
Sometimes they just need that light.
Something.
Right?
Do most people say, where did that come from? I would.
Yeah, and then if they're asking, just go, look, I just have the capacity to see, feel, hear, and know. I just know, just wanting to share that with you. And you may never see them again.
I was at a festival one time. This is years ago, and I'm standing there, and it was one of these that is a kind of a festival that you and I would navigate to naturally. A lot of artistic type people, people like dancing, like really enjoying the energy of the sun, like that. Those kind of place like that, like you can imagine, like kind of a hippie kind of place, really. And if I'm being honest, and so I'm sitting there, I'm talking to somebody, and this lady taps me on the shoulder, and I turn. She goes, "Yes." She said, "I have a message for you." Like I'm looking around, like who's got? Where is it? Is it in your hand? She goes, "No, it's your grandfather." Well, I never met him. It was my mother's father. So he has a message he wants to share, and
Mm,
like again, listeners,
mm,
people that are listening to this show know like we talk about this quite a bit, so it's not going to be foreign to them. But if there's new listeners that come in, some might think whatever, but it's legit. As you know, uh, the the things that she said to me, I didn't know, but there were things that were being told to me to share with my mother. And
yeah,
I called her immediately and said, "Hey, none of this really makes sense to me, but I need to share with you what was shared with me." And she was like, "Oh my God," like it overwhelmed her.
yeah,
And so it was I mean, it stopped me in my tracks. My initial response, and I've been read before, like people come up randomly to me, hey, grabbing my hand and really like, hey, because I'm accepted to it. And I think my energy says, hey, if you've got something, tell me kind of thing.
yeah,
And they're comfortable with that. But I was shocked and stood there for a
yeah,
while. Then this overwhelming emotion came over me where I wept. And then flash forward about a year later, I go to, she's holding this drum chanting ceremony type thing. And that was the most unbelievable thing I've been a part of. But that right there alone, her touching me on the shoulder, one, I felt something physically, but there was an emotional kind of thing before I even turned around to her. And she did just that. I've got something I need to share with you. And the way she's
mm,
like, okay, what is it? Um, so I know what that feels like to be on the other side of that. And
mm,
it comes to you that way. So um
mm.
I can't imagine walking around with that. I mean, you'd have to have some sort of gatekeeping or
Yes.
to keep your sanity, because then you wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I can imagine they would be bugging you all
100%.
right. So
Especially at night where you're calm and you're resting. They're like, oh, good. Like, she's not also working or she's not busy now. We're like, fresh meat. Let's go. It's like,
yeah,
no. You
yeah.
do have to be like, you have to have really good boundaries. Yeah.
I just have this image in my head. It's like you look out your window and they're all standing out in your yard and stuff like that. It's like,
It was really funny when I first met Roy, and like he stayed over, and like our room was suddenly like there was all of his, and I could see, because I can see them all. I could see all of his team, all of my team. Like there was all this galactic team. I'm like, all right, sorry, dudes, everyone out. This is just us. Like you guys are gonna go because it's too busy.
People don't know, like you're like, and so you just shared something there is that your husband also has gift as well,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
he's going to be on the show next week. So that's interesting that you say. I can't wait to hear some of his stuff too. But wow, this is good stuff. So I got a little bit off track, but I love, like, it made me start thinking about questions I've always really wanted to ask those that
Yeah.
are gifted this way. So like, are they standing in line? Like, do you give them numbers? Like, here, take a ticket.
Yeah.
Like,
Take a
this is
ticket, wait in line.
in line.
Which is what you do when you do platforms. So there's a lot of mediums who do platform. So you're on stage and there's a room full of people. So you can't just have them all talking to you at once. You've got to go, all right, who's next? And so you got to ensure that your imaginary, your spirit team are on it, and they're like, all right, the next person is that one, and they've got to wait patiently.
Mm,
Everyone's going to get seen, everyone's going to get heard, and they know that. So it's like, all right, who's and then you also got to set an intention. All right, I need to only talk to people who have a very profound message, who need something to be communicated. And sometimes it is just, there's this one piece that they want some clarity on, or they just need to know that their passed over loved one is safe, or that they're feeling loved, or how to. And then I love skeptics. It's like, how do I know that you're not talking crap? I'm like, all right, okay, team, let's bring me something that only they know. And often I'll reveal a very profound secret, and I'll only tell that one person, because it's also not to be shared.
yeah.
Right? Sometimes if you're in that room of people, then yes, you're here to obviously receive your message in that open forum. But when skeptics come to me, it's like, yeah, how about this? And they're like, how do you know? And I just know. I just
Well,
know.
and here's the thing that I think is funny about that, though. If they were truly, truly, truly skeptics, they wouldn't be there. You know what I'm saying? So there's some sense in it. And I can see if you're walking down the street and just randomly somebody saw you
Yeah.
giving somebody a reading, they knew what you were doing. But if they're there, I'm like, you really were hoping,
Yeah. Yeah.
some
Want
of
to
it.
try and prove you wrong, but also prove themselves
Right.
wrong at the same time.
That's it. That's what it is. They need the validation, I
Yeah.
think, probably more than anything, which I think is cool. So, and that was kind of like, I was really young. I was probably 13ish, I think, when the first times I was read, it was a lady up the street from where I lived. The gas station we always went to, his wife had a psychic practice in her home, and she came and she knew me, but she came to me and she just gently caressed my hand. I went in there to pay for something. I had pumped gas for my mother was in the car. She grabbed my hand. She goes, someone very important to you has lost something. Just know that it will be found.
Yeah.
Probably, in the next couple of days. I just want you to know that and pass it along. It's like, what is she talking about? I get in the car and I tell my mom, and it didn't occur to me later that night. My favorite teacher that till this day was my favorite teacher of all time. She had and I didn't know this. She had a wallet that had been stolen the day before, and she told
Ah,
us about it. And I was like, I bet that's who she's talking about. So I went to her. I said, this might be weird. I said, but I've been told you're gonna find that. And of course, she knew that I didn't take because I was, she loved me, I loved her, and all that kind of stuff. She looked at me like, "How do you know this?" I said, "Someone told me. You don't need to know," kind of thing, but it's going to be found. And 2 days later, it was found.
yeah.
So
It's
it's weird, you know.
yeah.
How
Amazing.
are you picked? Like, they knew that they couldn't get directly to that person. They saw somebody that was open to messaging like that the time, and I don't believe in chance encounters. I was
No.
supposed to be in there that day and that time, whatever, to receive that message to pass along. So
Mm.
uh,
Divine synchronicities.
it is, it completely is. So,
Mm.
so what are some practical tips on how people can align with their frequency? Because you talk about how you empower people to embody the standards and frequencies and energy to manifest their dreams. How can people align to that frequency?
It's getting really clear on what you want. People think it's some big, like profound thing outside of themselves. It's actually not. It's all within you. everything that you're seeking, everything that you're wanting, everything that you're desiring is actually all within you. And it's clearing out the clutter that's blocking that vision, that understanding, that sense of knowing, or the emotional attachment that you have to that thing. So it's getting really clear, and it's asking yourself really simple questions of, well, what do I want? What am I actually really good at? What are my own unique gifts, talents? What do I love doing? What am I just, what's innate within me? And stepping outside of what comes in, because we're so good at going, oh, I should, and I was told, and I have to be this way, or we are so attached to labels. It's like when you ask people, well, who are you? They're like, oh, I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a doctor, or I'm a lawyer, or I'm a musician. It's like, that's awesome. That's what you do.
Ooh, yes.
But who are you? And as I say that, I always get goosebumps. It's like understanding that essence, and that's when you go deep. It's like, all right, well, who am I? What am I? And then what are my values in life? Because we all live by a code.
Mm-hmm.
Is it somebody else's that you're being governed by, or you're choosing to live life by your own code? And it's asking that deep reflection, that's what soul mastery, self-mastery is about. Self-responsibility, your ability to respond. You have to take full responsibility. Stop handing that power away to another. So take full responsibility. Having self-awareness, awareness of self, of your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your actions, having just consciousness about your self-awareness. Self-discipline, so that you are taking the required actions, taking this required thoughts, doing what's necessary, not what everyone else is doing, what's necessary for you. And when you combine those 4 pillars, it's like, now I'm being self-aware. Okay, cool. I'm being self-responsible. And then you move from that victim state, that's living in the past state, into, okay, well, let's start co-creating this, because, you're not doing this all on your own. You're doing this with others. You're doing this with the universe, God, source, whatever you'd like to call that energy being, you and your highest level self. It's coming from within you. So then you start to create this. And like you said, well, because change is so challenging, like, how do I create this change that feels safe, that feels good, that feels aligned? It's because I have my intention and I have my vision. That's what I'm moving towards. And that's the power of what we all have within us. It's just unlocking that and letting your own light be your guide, rather than somebody else telling you what to do or how you should be. And stop also wanting to people please. Stop also self-sabotaging yourself along the way, because that's what we do as humans. We get in our own way, rather than, and then, kind of point the finger. Well, let's like bring it all back within.
Yeah. And I think too, like something you said a moment ago is who are you really? Like when you say, who am I think many times people are navigating the world based on glasses that somebody else gave them. And so and then they've self-hypnotized themselves to believe that. They've justified that because it was handed to them. I think a lot of humans, but I also think there's a big spiritual awakening too. I think there's this time in the world, the history of the world, there's more and more of this happening around the globe, people having conversations like you and I are having, but there's still a vast majority of people that they are co-pilots in their own life. They're not active participants. They're not, they're just riding along and not being intentional with how they live. And I think trying to get to your essence, who you are, at least once a day is very important. And they're simple. And I'm curious about how you help people to get there, but I'm going to say it in my uneducated way of saying it. What I take people through, my clients, is they'll call it, oh man, I had a really bad day of eating and I'm in this space and the world's caving in. Okay, let's really think about this. Your own Earth in this huge galaxy, if you could span all the way out macro, how small would Earth be? And then where you'd be in relation to that? You'd be a speck if you could even see it. You would be able to see it. So let's think about that first of all. Now let's think about Think about where you are physically in the world. In my case, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. Okay, where am I? I'm in my home. I'm sitting in my chair. I'm wearing, blue jeans. They're blue. They feel good on my skin. Like you just break it all the way down to the basic of where you are and what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like that alone, just that simple practice. I'm breathing. I feel good. The air feels good on
Mm.
my skin. My breath, deep breath in, deep breath out. That's how you can connect to your essence. It's not this big hocus pocus. I'm on a mountain, and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Just being present and intentional in your thought. Uh,
Mm.
for me, I have found the best way to connect to my essence. What kind of tools do you give
Mm.
to do that?
Yeah, beautiful. There's so much that you shared in that, and that's powerful. Bringing consciousness and presence to this moment because there is only now. And yes, not all of us can escape to a mountain, and a lot of people do when they're looking for their spiritual awakening, or that's what they think spirituality is. People who just meditate all day and live in a monastery, or those Buddhists that live in those temples. That's what they attune spirituality is. But spirituality is being aware of your spiritual self, that you are part of the cosmos, not just, Rumi says so beautifully, you are not a drop in the ocean, you are the ocean in a drop. So
Mm,
you're one component of this vast universe, and you're all so, so important at the same time because we're all interconnected.
mhm,
So remembering that divine essence and bringing it back to your conscious self, that this beautiful body is a very, very small part of your entire spiritual being.
mhm,
So when we're aware of that, it's like, yeah, and it is essential to have that daily practice, just like that spiritual hygiene we spoke about before, like brushing your teeth every day, like bathing every day. Like, well, one would hope that you do, to have some form of hygiene. It's just as necessary, and I rarely use need, must, should, because they denote no lack of choice, but I'm saying that is essential for your own connection to self, like spending time with self, bringing conscious awareness to yourself. And breath work is a beautiful piece of that, like just being conscious of your breath, bringing it back into the self. Gratitude is a powerful practice to have. Grateful for this divine body, where, so again, releasing comparison, releasing guilt, shame, blame, because there's no transformative energy in that. It's like bring it back into yourself. You're here and now, and that's all that requires. It's all that matters. And then what you're choosing to do next.
yeah. And so that makes me like you talk about, this goes back to
Mm.
I am, right? What am I? I am. Well, you are. Here's how you can do this. We're all interconnected beings. And so you can start, you said this. I start my very first thought of the day before my feet hit the floor is a meditation of gratitude. And
Mm.
it's obviously for the basic things, my health, my family's health, and all that. But I get very granular and really kind of weird. Like I'm thankful for the trash pickup service. I'm thankful
Yes.
for people that fill the potholes in the roads. You know what I mean? Like it's very granular. But if you leave the house and you've given a meditation of gratitude for even all those small things, man, your emotional frequency is so freaking high. It's really hard to get knocked off of that. So one thing that I tried to do, is understand we're all interconnected beings. I go, okay, I am the earth. I am the trees.
Mm.
I am the air. I am the grass. Like, because we all are connected that way, right? So if you're feeling less than and small, and by the way, you are enough just how you are, how you show up every single day, you are enough because you are here. But if you just simply say, wait, I'm so much more than just this. I am the earth. I am the dirt. I am the leaves. I am the animals. I am Aida in Australia. Like you're all of these
Mm.
things. You're this big,
Yeah.
powerful being in this little package, So
That's
um
That's
yeah.
like, it's when we're choosing to create, or when we're being, and I love how you touched on this. We choose to be full and willing participants of our life,
Mhm.
because even my partner was talking about the other day. He goes, oh, what was going on with his ex. It's like, choose to be a full and willing participant. That all of that was required, all of that was necessary. It's like, okay, cool. But when when we learn from those moments, and it's like, yeah, we are, because we're all interconnected, use what somebody else has or does as an inspiration, that is also available to you, that it's also on the path for you should you choose to walk that path, and should it be in alignment with, again, with what you're here for.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise you're just chasing something that's just pushing, grinding, forcing ego. We want to release ego. Where ego is also required, it's just a certain sense of self, but we'd like it to be balanced. We want it to be in harmony. We're like you said, we're positive and negative ions, right? But we're also shadow and light. We need both. We need both, because we're living in a polarity universe. We're living in a polarity. There's light and shade. There's sun and moon. Like there's dark and light.
Yin and
So
yang.
that we need both.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when we recognize that we're part of this entire ecosystem, we're required in this ecosystem, and we're living consciously. It's like, and initially it's super aware, and it can be a little bit, okay, am I doing everything? It's like, just be you and choose to be you in every moment. Be mindful of your words, be mindful of your emotions, be mindful of how you're creating and how you're walking this earth. Because as shamans, where your prayer every single time your foot is on this earth, like it's a prayer to the earth, it's a prayer to yourself, it's a prayer to others. Because again, we can be very selfish beings. We're like, well, I want this, and give it all to me. But you're not the only one here. Whilst the world does revolve around you, it's we also want to send a prayer or gratitude to others, in gratitude to this earth, in gratitude to above and beyond, above, below, and beyond. Because we are, there's 5 elements, well, 7, but there's 5 if we want to get technical of earth. Using those elements, the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, it's part of how we all are individually, and honoring that space. We're creating every moment. Just we get to choose what we create.
So who is your, oh gosh, yeah, you get to choose. So we wake up every day with a chance and a choice. And it's what choices we're going to make with that chance, right? There are things that are out of our control, but a lot of things we navigate and do daily, we can control and dictate, right? How that's going to happen. So who is your mentor, through all this? Who's your mentor? Who is your person?
Yeah, for me, it's actually me, and it has been for the last decade. Like me and my spirit team, me and the universe. So my mentor has been, because where's my journey been, and what I've been through, and how I connect, and all my gifts, my guides have been my mentors. Like my connection to source, spirit, God, the universe, and my higher self has been my guiding light for the last decade. And yeah, before that, I would read everything by Louise Hay, Wayne Dwyer. Like I did a lot of, like I'm looking at my bookshelf right now, my altar. So I've had a lot of external sources, but they were just reminding me of stuff that I already knew. And it's like, how long do you continue to ignore what you know to be true and stop requiring external validation? So often it's like, we just kind of want that little bit of validation. Yes, you're on the right path. Oh, okay, cool. Or a little, sometimes people need a little nudge back on the path. But for me, it's been my guides that have been my mentors I've been my own mentor, because I'm so connected to my higher self. I'm the one that gets that information. It's like, okay, what's next to me? What do I need to learn next? And then it just shows up. Like literally, I might just jump on my laptop, and then all random stuff comes to me, and I'm like, oh, and then I get this moment, what does that mean? And then I start researching, and then I just find it all, and it's all there, and it just unfolds. So a lot of my mentors has been source, which is probably not very helpful for people. It's like, oh, okay.
No, I mean, I think I've said this, and then whatever this, some people find this a bit controversial, I guess. I don't know, but they'll talk about seeking God. Seeking God is like, well, look in the mirror. You
100%.
you are that, you are that. So how does your connection to the Sunshine Coast, Australia, influence your work and well-being?
I am so connected to this earth that being here in Australia, we traveled for 3 months earlier this year, and I always find that I can connect to wherever I am. I don't like, it's not a place, it's who you are. And being in Australia right now has just been phenomenal. We're so blessed with incredible weather here. And even though it's kind of raining outside today, it's like, this is, I guess, where I chose to be born. So I was born in Australia, even though I have immigrant parents.
Mhm.
And right now I'm loving the space and vibe, but I've been nudged. Like me traveling earlier this year for so long unintentionally is like I knew the messages along the way. It's like I'm meant to do some more travel. So I know next year we have more travel in our on the cards, so to speak, or in the stars, so to speak. So that's coming in. And doing what we do, we can literally do this anywhere in the world, which is phenomenal because we have the power of technology and we're able to connect anywhere in the world these days. So I feel very blessed. Like I'm so connected with the ocean. And I feel that because I've done a lot of earth medicine, that I've learnt the Australian codes, and I've had past lives, if you believe in that, as Indigenous Australians as well, because I've received all of that. And I've done some deep work with Uluru, or as a lot of people know it to be, Ayers Rock, and travelled Australia a little bit, but I've done the work with her. So now it's like, now she's moving me to move on. Now she's moving me to other coastlines and other areas and other lands. It's like time to do my work there. So I'm really feeling that pull to be traveling again soon. But Australia's gorgeous. Like it's beautiful for so many things. And then I find people are amazing wherever I am. I'm so blessed that way. And yes, sometimes one can get a little bit frustrated by external events. But as you said, it's like you only really focus on what you can control, for want of a better word. There's no stressing about world events or world empires or world people. It's like we can only really control or manage what we're responsible for or how we respond to those situations. So being mindful in that regard. So we'll see where, the world takes us, where I'm being guided to next. And we both feel the pull to move. So, and we are, our lease is up from this place anyway, early next year. So we'll see. We'll see where I end up.
And I'm like that, as you and I both can find a tribe anywhere because we're so social and we, we connect with people. Like you plop me down anywhere within just a matter of a few days. I've got my people, I can make it, for sure. So,
Yeah.
so what advice would you have for somebody that kind of feels stuck maybe in their journey? They're not
Yeah.
exactly sure what's kind of an immediate thing that pops into your mind.
Beautiful. I feel being stuck's a great thing, right? Sometimes it just requires you to pause for a moment and reflect. So if you're feeling stuck, like if you're feeling like it's because we're so taught to grind, hustle, you've got to constantly be doing something. It's like, but again, let's look to nature. She has cycles of birth, death, and rebirth. She goes through 4 seasons in a year, so to speak, or over time. So allow yourself to have that season. And then it's the self-reflection, okay? If you're feeling stuck, then what's your intention? Come back to where you are here and now. And you may need to journal or express deep gratitude for what you have. And just remember where you are and how far you've come. Because we sometimes feel stuck because our vision or what we thought we should be at, like especially at 50, there's a lot of people who, I should have had a profession by now, I should have the white picket fence, 4 kids, dog,
Says
house, I
who,
should have.
Yeah, says who, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it.
We all arrive and we're all on our journey. I give this example, like when we lived in California, I give this example to people quite often. It's like if when I had a beach party and I invited people out from all over the United States, and I said, was this day and time? When you showed up, the first thing I would do when you show up, it would be like, man, I'm so glad you made it. I'm glad you're here. All that. Did I ask you how you got here? I don't care what mode of transportation you used to get here. I don't care. You made it. So who gets to determine and dictate where somebody should and shouldn't be by any particular time in their life, or how you should navigate the world based on gender and all that kind of stuff? No, we get to, like, think about it. If aliens came down on this earth and saw some of the way we judge each other and we put labels and dictate on where, they would think we're absolutely nuts. They were like, what in the hell is wrong with you people? We're out. That's why we haven't invaded you before now. You're going to self-destruct. We're going to come as
We don't have to. You're doing it for
you
us.
don't have to do anything. See you in another 100 years, on the path you're going. So yeah, and so I thought about this Nelson Mandela quote. He says, "The greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time we fall."
That's it.
So that's Mandela. So, what's the biggest challenge you faced in your own personal and spiritual growth?
Mm. Choosing not to see.
Hmm.
Choosing. That's been my greatest failure, in not believing in myself,
Mm.
in believing I'm less than. As you said before, like, I am so worthy. You are so worthy. We are all so worthy. But believing that someone else can have something, but it's not meant for me.
Mhm.
That's the biggest BS that we'll ever tell ourselves. And that can be huge,
Mhm.
huge self-sabotage moment. And because I was raised in such like interesting times, I let that dictate my life for so, so long, thinking that, oh, it's okay. I'm just somebody else's fan. I'm just somebody else's like support. It's not meant for me. And I lied to myself, and I held belief at that lie for so, so long, because a belief is simply a thought that we have given energy to. Doesn't even have
Yes.
to be true. Doesn't have to be true. That's the power of belief, right? But the moment we recognize that belief, it's like, actually, why not me? Because
Mm.
it's like, we're so good at going, oh, why me, poor me. It's like, well, why not me? What sets them so apart? Because as you said, when we're all born from earth, we're all going to return to earth. And if you believe in the Bible, we're all created in God's image,
Mhm.
says so. We're all God's self beings because we held that same belief.
Mhm.
Then what is meant for another, or whatever one other can achieve, so can I. I may not be Kobe Bryant. I may not be like Nelson Mandela. I may not be like someone who can run 1,000 miles at it, like, Usain Bolt. That may not be my purpose because I'm not those people. But what am I here to achieve? What's for me? And that releasing comparison, releasing lies that we tell to ourselves, it's like, that was a big factor personally for me, is releasing the lies and the beliefs that I've been telling myself since I was 2, since I was 6.
Yeah. So one of my people must have come to you and spoken to your ear, because you wouldn't believe what I wrote down here. I wrote, "There's always someone faster than you. Even Usain Bolt has competition." That's what is on this pad right here beside me, and it's
But
true.
and he's got to be focused on the finish line in front of him, not who's chasing him, right? And
That's
we've got
it.
to do the same.
So I think like there's a double thing to this, right? Like, comparison is the thief of joy, but also you can look at someone else for inspiration, as long as
That's
it's not doing something to negatively, down yourself and put yourself down. You can say, "Hey, man, I like what they're doing. I want to aspire to be that." But guess what? Once you get there, doesn't mean it ends. It means you then got to go for the next thing. It's the journey, right? That is the most beautiful and greatest part of it all. Not the damn destination. It's what we do and what we become in the process. That is the coolest part of it. Um, in
that's the
my
joy of life.
It is. It really truly is. So what are you most passionate about right now? What kind of future aspirations do you have?
Mm. My passion, like, gosh, like, my thing is like, I'm consistently unfolding purpose.
Hmm.
Consistently, I'm always checking in on my own purpose, like, almost daily. It's like, is this what I'm here for? The thing that I love doing for people is, and as I look at the time, it's 1:11, 33. That's just
Uh-huh.
gold. That's alignment. It's like, I'm guiding people back to their purpose. I'm passionate about people living with purpose. And it's also purposeful. So,
Mhm.
whatever you're doing, let it be purposeful. So, even if you're choosing to just be mindless and like on your phone scrolling on social, be there. Don't then doubt or judge or compare or should be blaming, guilting. Just be purposeful in every moment, and finding what your purpose is, or what my purpose is. That to me is like, that's what I'm super passionate about. living purposefully, being fulfilled in that, and living my purpose. And that's just been my guiding light for so long. And that has, like you said, it's evolved and changed and flowed because, you know, we all have challenges in life and we all have experiences, and they're here to give us contrast. Like, is this what you meant? No, yep, great. And flowing with that. We're not supposed to be on a straight and narrow line. How boring would that be? Where's
Well,
the experience in that?
that's it. So you said checking in on your own purpose.
Oh, yeah.
What if we all like think about this? Think about this for a second. What if that's all you did? I mean, you know, you have to eat all those kinds of things, but your goal, kind of each day, at the end of the day, when you did your inventory of your day, and you said, "I'm going to check in on my purpose," that would
Yeah.
be never ending, and you would always be evolving. Think about that. How beautiful that would be, if it, anything at all. This is my takeaway from our time together today, is make it purposeful and intentional at the end of every day, asking a question of myself and checking in, taking inventory of my own purpose. That's powerful. That is
Beautiful.
that I circled that about 47 times on my page. So that's really good. That's really good. I
Yeah.
love that so much.
Checking in's the key, isn't it? Because we want to check in, we don't want to check out. We don't want to numb, we don't want to fly. Like, we want to check in. Because it's like, then I'm becoming self-responsible again. I'm becoming self-aware. I'm becoming self-disciplined.
And that's where you then are able to connect back to your essence. And that
That's
comes
it.
full circle, right? Interesting. I really like
Mm.
that a lot.
It's
I'm
beautiful, isn't
I'm
it?
taking that
Yeah.
from today. That's good. I'm gonna,
Yes.
I'm gonna print that on some of my clients. I'm gonna say, hey man, my girl in Australia, she gave me this. Let me give you something. You don't like it. So I really like that a lot.
Perfect.
Yeah, I like it. So
Perfect.
if you could offer one piece of advice to our listeners, imagine you're talking to one person, their
Mm.
journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth, what would that kind of one thing be?
Let's relate it back to what we just literally spoke about and
You're gonna
say,
do
check
that?
in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's true.
let's check in.
Yeah.
Check in with yourself. Just ask yourself those beautiful questions, check in with yourself, and then choose. Because you have the power of choice as an infinite spiritual being and divine human being. So choose. Choose each and every moment how you're going to use that moment, and stop saying spend and start saying invest.
Mhm.
Start saying invest, whether you're investing money, whether you're investing your thoughts, you're investing your emotional body, whatever you're choosing to invest in, choose and check in.
Yeah.
Mm.
Choose and check in. I'm gonna write this down. Choose and check
Good. I'm
in.
so blessed. So thank you.
I like that
Mhm.
so much. It's good. You could probably saw it. Like, I meant to say this before we recorded. A lot of the previous listeners and audio people, they know when I'm looking away, I'm taking notes as we're going along, and timestamps and stuff
I
like
could see that.
that. Yeah. So
I could
if
feel
I'm
it.
still listening, but I'm taking notes on
Yeah,
things. I've got
it's
binders of
beautiful.
these from doing podcasts for a decade. So we're now to the rapid fire questions. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Bring
So you ready? Strapped in? All right. Get ready now. This is
Let's go.
fun part. Early bird or night owl?
Hmm. Early bird.
Books or movies?
Ah, books.
What's your most used emoji?
Oh, it would be the beautiful smug face with the love hearts around it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. If you could learn any skill instantly, what would it be?
Sorry, learn any skill, did you say?
Yeah, if you could learn any skill instantly, what would it be?
I always want to keep activating my vision.
Mm.
Hmm.
What's your go-to comfort food?
Oh, chocolate?
Okay,
Cacao?
okay. Here's the big question though. This is going to change a lot of things between us. Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Dark.
Oh, come on. Yes, I love it.
Dark.
I knew we were meant to have this conversation today. That's the deal. All right. Your biggest pet peeve.
um, BS.
Hmm. A piece of
Lies.
advice you'd give your younger self.
Oh, believe.
Mm,
Just believe.
just believe.
Yeah.
something that always makes you laugh.
Don't tell Roy this, but his jokes, even though I secretly don't let him laugh. But
Oh my God, you because his hair's gonna get like he won't be able to fit on camera next week. What are you doing? Uh, what what's your spirit animal?
my birth totem is eagle. Yeah. And
Uh-huh.
my life totem is Black Panther.
Oh my gosh, those are both very powerful. Uh,
Yeah.
what's one thing you can't live without?
Mm. Love.
Mm, I think that should be true to everybody, right? I like that
Mm.
a lot. Awesome. You survived. See, it wasn't very difficult, right? The rapid fire segment.
Yeah.
You made it through. So, let's talk about now, like where can people find you, your links, and
Mm.
all this stuff will be in the show notes. You can tell people where they can find you and
Thank
your work can
you.
go on and that kind of stuff.
Perfect. Thank you. My website, aidajasmine.org, all one word, .org. Aidajasmine.org is, yeah, it's where you can access me, where you can learn more about my magic and how to uncover your life purpose, or how I can be of service to you, how I can help you connect to your brilliance and evolve and grow and just live purposefully and live your purpose on earth.
Mhm.
My book, The Handbook for Being Human, is available through Amazon or through me directly. So they're the two main points or touch points so you can access me. Sure, I've got some social media handles which may or may not be entered in the notes section, but it's also through my website. You'll be able to connect me through there.
So, and it's AIDAJASMINE.org for the audio podcast. People, again,
Yes.
this will still be in the show notes of the iTunes, all the wherever you're consuming this
Mm.
audio. And since your socials are there, I'll link that one so it's easy for people to
Thank you.
locate. So what last words do you have for the audience?
Mm. We connected with that word that, what would I tell my 6-year-old self? So reflect upon that for your own self. What would you tell your 6-year-old self? And believe, just believe that in every one moment you have the power of choice, that you can live a purposeful, fulfilled, and life on purpose, that you have brilliance within you that is ready to be unleashed into the world. So please shine your magnificent light and choose.
Mm, I love that so much. Well,
Mm.
thank you so very much. And until next time, this was another episode of Reinventing Life After 50. And this is always to your health and wellness. Bye now.